Hey everyone, Andrew Stormer here, and welcome back to another computer tutorial. And today we're talking monitors, and you can also call them screens, displays, whatever. We're back on PC Part Picker, and you have all your typical options. Your screen size, this is the distance from corner to corner. It's actually not like the horizontal or the vertical, it's the corner to corner size. And you can choose whatever you want, but me personally, I prefer like a 23, 24-inch max for just computer work. I know some people, they like huge monitors, like they want to play games on a huge TV in front of them, but I'm not huge into that. Resolution, that's just how many pixels are there. Your standard right now is 1920 by 1080 right here. But there's also some 1440s and 4Ks. Response time and refresh rate matter a lot more than people might think. Response time is the amount of time it takes for a pixel to change, and while refresh rate is how many times all the pixels on a monitor all change. I would recommend no lower than 60 Hertz on a monitor, and your response time no longer than 8 milliseconds, preferably 5. Another good refresh rate for gaming is 144 Hertz or even 240 Hertz. That means you're gonna get a higher frame rate to your eyes. Like, your monitor has a frame rate, and these two things, they have to work together. For example, it'd be pointless to buy a 244 Hertz monitor with 60 millisecond response time. That would just be dumb. You'd have to have them work together, or else one of them's gonna slow down the other. But if you have one, don't worry about it at all. Brightness, that's just how bright your screen is, doesn't really matter. Widescreen, this is taken care of when you do an aspect ratio, but if you don't want a square screen, just say yes, and then it works. Curved screens, some screens are curved, you've probably seen them. I think they're kind of cool. They're expensive, but they're cool. And if you wanted to do like some all around you desktop thing, I think it'd be kind of nice to do like 3 curved monitors instead of flat monitors where 3 you'd have like these angles there. It just curve, it'd flow all together. I think it'd be kind of cool. Aspect ratio 16:9 is your average ratio, but if you are into like editing movies or anything crazy like that, a 21:9 ratio might be what you want to get. The other ratios doesn't really matter, but I'd just go with one of the standard ones. LED backlight just makes your image look better. It makes your lighting look better, your colors, just all around it makes it look better. Interfaces, these need to match with your graphics card, or if you don't have a graphics card, your motherboard ports, so you can plug in your monitor. Now they do make adapters, so if you happen to accidentally buy something with not a standard plug, then you can get an adapter. It might take down your performance a tiny bit, but it's not a big deal. But your standard ones, I drew them up right here. You have HDMI, which kind of looks like this. You have your display ports, that's kind of like that. DVI has all your little pins here, and then just this little slant right here. And VGA just has a bunch of pins in there. If you look way up close on my little drawing there, you can kind of see, I think DisplayPort kind of looks like a SATA cable, which is kind of weird. DisplayPort is actually the new thing right now that gets better frame rates, and for like a 240 Hertz monitor, it probably is going to have DisplayPort and maybe HDMI. It's not going to have the other ones because DisplayPort and HDMI are so much faster. They can keep up with the refresh rate compared to the older generation cords. Panel types. This gets really weird, and I'm just going to go over the super simple version, but This website, it used to only have IPS, yes or no. It didn't have the other types. I have some notes on this. So IPS is in-plane switching, which moves the liquid crystals to be able to view the monitor from almost any angle and distance, and it has better colors. This will make more sense in a minute. TN is twisted pneumatic. It's an LCD panel with a bad viewing angle and colors and brightness and refresh rate. It's kind of the older generation. It's not super great, but some of the new ones have been perfected and they actually have really high refresh rates. There are other high refresh rate monitors with other panel types, but all the ones that I've ever looked into and thought about buying were all TN panel. So that kind of speaks for that. PLS is plane to line switching, which isn't much better than IPS, and not many people make it. So VA is vertical alignment, which is better than TN panels in like colors and viewing angle and such, but not as good as IPS, and VA panels have higher refresh rates nowadays. PVA is patterned vertical alignment, which is better than a VA, and it has good blacks and contrast, but once again, it's kinda whatever. So they're gonna keep adding panel types in the future with manufacturers coming up with new stuff, but for right now, I just say IPS if you want super nice colors and contrast and stuff like that, or probably TN for high refresh rate. FrameSync, this is G-Sync or FreeSync, and G-Sync is NVIDIA's version for their GeForce cards, and FreeSync is AMD's version for their Radeon cards. And first off, your graphics card has to support one of these for it to even be worth checking that off to get. And then second, you might not need it, but what FrameSync does with either G-Sync or FreeSync is it syncs your monitor's refresh rate with how many frames the graphics card is actually pumping out. So it can have a steady frame rate, or it might lag your computer if your graphics card sucks or something, but it's another option out there for you. Built-in speakers. Monitors can have speakers if you want, so you don't have to buy yourself speakers, but I mean, I get some better speakers or wear headphones or something, but it is another option. VESA mounting, however you want to say it, I don't care. It's just the style and size of the mount for the monitor. So if you don't like the mount that your monitor comes with, or you wanted to slap the screen onto some custom mount, you could go through options there and select the one that you need. There's a couple special features with monitors that not all of them have that are options, and I'm gonna touch on these right before I get to the last couple specs. And right here, you can see that some monitors can actually go vertical, like they can actually full-on flip around, and that would be good for like a stream chat or something if you wanted to read your chat off on the side. Monitors can tilt. I don't know what monitor doesn't, but I bet they're out there, but your monitors can tilt, some more than others. And then this one right here, some monitors can actually slide up and down to change your different like seating positions or something like that. So if you have a stand-up desk, you maybe want to get one that slides up and down, or you want to do custom mounts or something like that. If we go to a random monitor right here, you can see there's a viewing angle, and H is the horizontal and V is the vertical. If you look at my last example here, you can see that here's your monitor down here, and then there's this angle that you can view everything on the screen perfectly at this entire angle right here. And there's these tiny slivers here on the sides that you can't see what's on the screen very well. And the difference between older monitors and newer monitors is that newer monitors have much better viewing angles, when the older ones, you could just be like a little bit off and all the colors and brightness and everything would be screwed up and stuff. So let's just say this whiteboard is a monitor. With 170-degree viewing angle, I can look at it straight on, and I can look at it all around here, and it still looks fine, and I can get to right about here, and then if I look on it, everything's gonna be messed up. But if I just come back around, then I'll be able to see it again. Some companies like Verizon sometimes use a little filter thing that you actually stick on your monitor, like a filter over your screen that actually decreases the viewing angle, so only the employee can see what's on the screen, and any guests or customers, if they try to look on it, they can't see it because their viewing angle's all screwed up. So that's another application of it. Now, I personally just like a really nice viewing angle, but I guess there can be certain times that a low viewing angle might be nice. The last spec on here is contrast ratio. And if you want really good colors and lighting and everything on your monitor, you're gonna have a very high contrast ratio, because a contrast ratio is the distance between the darkest dark and the lightest light. It's the difference between black and white. And if you have, in this instance, 100 million, that means there's 100 million different options for your pixels to be of different brightnesses, versus if there were only 100. 100 would look pretty crap. So you want a high contrast ratio if you want everything to look super nice. So in English, what does all this mean? What do you need in a monitor? First thing is resolution, where unless you're doing some super tiny monitor, which you actually can't get through PC Part Picker, you would want 1080p, no less than that. That just is the standard quality nowadays and what people expect from stuff. If you need good colors for video editing or color grading pictures or anything like that, they do make color accurate monitors. I'm not getting into that today. You can go look it up if you need to. And other things that go into having a very nice image is a high brightness, sometimes an IPS panel, and LED backlight. Those all help a lot in making a really nice crispy image. And if you're doing video editing, you might just want to pick up a 4K monitor and maybe even a 21:9 ratio monitor instead of a 16:9. If you're doing just YouTube videos, get a 16:9 because it's the standard YouTube. But if you're doing like cinematic stuff with black bars, you can do 16:9, or you could get like a 21:9 ratio monitor. And some editors, they like their 21:9 because in Premiere, they can separate their workspace into like different sections and have nice widescreen, like quarters of the screen, which is another kind of cool thing. Now, if you're a gamer, you want the response time and the refresh rate. If you're into FPS gaming, you definitely want those. Now, the one thing you have to keep in mind is if you have a high refresh rate, like above 60 hertz, like way above it, like a 144 or something, and you're doing like a 1440p or 4K or anything like that, your graphics card is gonna be bogged down a lot more because it's trying to get more pixels out and more frames out every second than versus just a 1080 at 60. So if you do, let's just say a 1440p 144 hertz monitor, you're gonna need a much beefier graphics card, which will cost you more money than if you just stuck with a standard normal thing. Me personally, I have 1080 at 60 hertz, and they all work fine. I do FPS gaming sometimes, and I think it's fine, but some people do like those extra frames. With that being said, there is a ton to cover in this episode, but I hope you kind of narrowed stuff down, learned some stuff, and you can go figure out what monitor you need now. That's gonna do it for this one, so thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.